I'm just going to try and get ready here. See if some people will join me. I'll try to watch this on my phone. Right here. See if some people will join me. And try not to record it while I'm doing that. And then I'll try to watch it on my phone so I can see if there's chats going on, since it's just me doing all of this. Me and tech are having a hard time here lately. So I hope this is finding you doing well. Watch and see. You're welcome to comment on the live stream. There should be a place down below the video here in the live stream on YouTube where you can chat, share your questions. There may be a little bit of a delay, so it may be hard for me to catch those right away, but I'll try to take a break and look every now and then. So this is kind of meant to be a little bit informal. And I'm just making sure. Okay. And make sure my door is closed so no dogs come barging in while I'm talking. So how is your Tuesday? Our week last week was very busy. Our oldest daughter got married over the weekend. So we traveled to South Texas, Central Texas, Eastern Central Texas. I don't know. Down in the College Station, Bryan College Station area. Went down and visited there and got her wedding done and got them sent on their way. And then we had to make our way back home to Southern Indiana and got home yesterday evening. So today's been a little bit of a just a catch up with everything. So I am glad to have you here. And just as a reminder, I'm Angela, the Diligent Woman from thediligentwoman.com. And this week we are undertaking a prayer challenge with a purpose. We are praying to prepare our hearts for this holiday season that is upon us. If you're in the US, you've got Thanksgiving coming up. Most of the world has Christmas, coming up. Plus you've got Hanukkah and all of the other, I can't even remember what all holidays are on the calendar anymore, but there is something for everyone. And all of those things usually mean gatherings and a lot more activity. And sometimes they come with a lot of stress. So we're trying to prepare our hearts so that we can handle that stress in a good way and be better equipped so that we can enjoy those holidays while also trying to create memories with our family and our friends and whoever we're going to engage with during the holidays. We don't want it to be a stressful time. They're meant to be days of remembering and days of family and days of joy, and so many things that we choose to take on that are meant to be fun just brings a lot of stress. It's a lot of money spending, a lot of extra cooking, a lot of extra doing, which can be a gift, but can also be a stress. So let's try to prepare ourselves by looking to God and looking to his word, and to prepare through prayer, and equip ourselves every day with a prayer that is going to get our hearts into the right place. Yesterday was day one of the challenge, and that day was pretty simple. All you needed to do was review, if it was something that you were familiar with, the idea of really how simple prayer is supposed to be. Because Jesus, when his disciples asked him, he was praying in front of them over in Luke chapter 11, and his disciples said, "Teach us how to do that." And Jesus gave them this simple little prayer as a starting place. And I believe it's meant to be a starting place because all of the other examples of prayer in scripture have all of these elements, but they're not identical to this prayer. This prayer covers kind of like all the highlights that you want to hit, but you can make them individual to you. So over in Luke 11, he gives this example, and I love that. For me, this is where probably our idea of a friendly letter came from, at least in the format. Do you remember that in school, in elementary school? I don't even know. Do they teach friendly letters anymore, since they barely do longhand writing, hardly? But this idea of having a salutation, a greeting, where you are greeting the person to whom you're speaking. You have this body of content, the main gist of what you're trying to say, and then a way to close it out so that you're finished, but that shows respect, and shows your relationship with them. And the prayer that Jesus gives follows that format. So the challenge is for you to keep it that simple. It doesn't have to be harder than that. You have God the Father to speak to. You have the things on your heart to tell him about. And you just need to express your thankfulness and your joy in the things that he has given to you. You just need to express those for a little bit. You don't have to spend a lot of time at it. You just need to remember that, because the very expression of that gratitude indicates that you know who God is and that you need him, because why else would you be saying thank you, right? So that's the idea, is for us to focus on gratitude. So that was day one, was focusing on being grateful for what we have, for where we are. The fact that you have holidays to worry about it all, whether you have a large family or even if you are alone, it means that you are still here on this earth, and the Lord has a mission for you. You still have work to do. There are still people for you to influence and to come in contact with and to edify and to lift up. And the holidays are a good time to do that. And when it's a hard time for you, maybe because you're missing loved ones who aren't here, it might be a way for you to know, I'm feeling this way, so others are feeling that way, and so I'm going to do what I can to help them. And if I'm grateful for where I am and the things that I've gone through that brought me to here, then I have lessons that I can share. And we need to be expressing that gratitude to God. So that was day one, was remembering to be grateful. Because sometimes don't we just kind of get all wrapped up in all the stuff that we're doing, and we forget to say thank you. We keep having all these expectations of what we need, what we want, and more. And we forget to stop and say thank you. And we want our children to tell us thank you. We want our coworkers and our bosses and our spouses. We like it when they say thank you for our efforts. The Lord is no different. He knows you need to express that gratitude, and he wants to hear it from you. So use that outline prayer over in Luke 11. And in the holiday prayer challenge Bible study guide, there's a lovely cheat sheet. Let's see if I have a picture of it here. I have so many pages that you can print out, so many little things. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that. We'll see how this shows up on the camera. Hard to know where to put things so that you can see it, but it's just an outline. And again, it's in the workbook, and you can just see kind of a part of it, but where we break down both instances in the Gospels, in Matthew 6 and Luke 11, and show what the vital parts are of praying. And that's just a guide. You can pin that up on, put that on your refrigerator. It's a good tool to teach your kids about praying, and help kind of talk about day two. And if you have any questions, and if you have questions about any of the forms, you can add those even after this Facebook Live is done. I think it will allow you to continue to comment. And even if it doesn't, you can go over to thediligentwoman.com/contact the diligent woman. And there's hyphens between each word, contact the diligent woman. And I'll drop a link for that after the video is over. You can go to the contact form on thediligentwoman.com and send me a message and ask your questions of me. or you can send it to me via email through the challenge links that you have if you're part of the challenge, because I want to help you to use the forms as tools that benefit you. But guess what? You don't have to use them. Just use a notebook or just sit down and pray. You don't have to use anything but part of this tool through the challenge. Okay. So day 2, which is focusing on the fact that we've got all these different types of prayers that we can make. God gave us a lot of variety for that. Isn't that amazing? Applications for other people. We can come and kind of be a mediator for them. We know they have things. You've got petitions that you can make asking for things, or you've got supplications. It was over in Philippians, and to look at how Paul prayed, and to see what he prayed for. You've got all of these examples of prayers. David prayed, so Paul prayed, Hannah prayed, and they told God what they needed. There are a lot of the Psalms where David is talking about, he's sharing his prayers after the fact, because all those Psalms probably were written after he had prayed those things. And he tells God just to outright get rid of his enemies. He tells God what he wants and what he needs, but then he leaves it in God's hands to do what God says is the thing to do. But David's not ashamed to tell him that I just want them gone. They're giving me trouble and I don't want them here. I don't want them bothering me. And we need to not be ashamed to tell God the ugly stuff too. It's not wrong that we are feeling oppressed. The fact that we feel oppressed and can take it to God is the blessing of prayer, right? So your challenge today was to, wherever you are, whether today was a good day or a bad day, tell God about it. Write it out. You can use the basic prayer worksheet, which just gives you a free space to write out your prayer with check boxes at the bottom, so you can make sure you hit all of the sections that Jesus had. But I will say that there are a lot of prayers in Scripture that don't hit every one of those boxes. Sometimes prayers are very short and they're very specific, and the content in the middle is limited to the need. They always are addressed to the Father, and for Christians, they're always through the avenue of the Son. So if you've got those, the top and the bottom is to the Father, through the Son, then whatever you put in the middle just depends on where you are right then. If it's praying for your food, then it can be just about praying for your food. If it's a general prayer for the day that's kind of hitting all the notes that are in that sample prayer, then you can hit all the notes. But you can also focus in on things, because we see that Paul focused in on some things. Sometimes he prayed in general for lots of people. Sometimes he prayed very specifically for just a few. So your job today is to trust God enough to tell him whatever's on your heart and is bothering you right now, whatever that is. Not think of what would be the best thing for me to pray about the holiday 2 weeks from now. What is the thing that is hurting you or is weighing on you, or that you deeply want to express and there's really nowhere to go with it? Maybe you had a really great thing happen and there's just nobody to celebrate that with you because maybe they wouldn't understand it. Or maybe you're a little embarrassed about it because you're so excited about it. Well, tell God about it. God rejoices over you. He wants to take delight in you and the things that you do. So share that with him. But if today's a hard day because the holidays are coming and you're afraid of being alone, or the holidays are coming and your heart is sad because you weren't alone that long ago and you've lost someone and now you are, or you do have family to go be with, but you still feel alone because there's a difference between you, whatever that might be. That could be if you've lost a spouse and then you're going to go be with all your family and they've kind of moved on because they have their responsibilities and yours has changed. Or it could even be that you're going through a season in your life where you're rethinking a lot of things and you're kind of studying, and you know your mindset is not exactly the same as everyone else that you're going to be around because you've had some kind of an awakening or a change in your thought, and you feel separated from everybody because of that. Tell God about it. Whatever it is. If you're worried about your kids, if you're worried about the money to accomplish buying the food or buying the gifts, if you don't know where the gas money is going to come from tomorrow, so you can go to the grocery store just for this week's eating, forget the holidays. We can't even get through this week that's leading up to it. Tell him. That's your challenge today, is to trust the Lord with the burdens of your heart. Because if you can't trust him with today, how are you going to trust him with the overwhelming and believe that he's going to take care of the overwhelming thing that's coming? You've got to trust him with the here and the now so that you can know that he is faithful, that you can believe that because you know it from what you've read in scripture, that God is faithful. He's consistent. He has fulfilled his promises. We have this huge book that he has put together with all of these stories. You know what all those stories teach you about God? Is that God keeps his promises. He had a plan, and the ultimate promise for us is salvation in heaven. And he shows us through lives of ordinary people that he's kept his promises down here on earth with us in our little dribs and drabs of weariness and trouble that we walk into. God's been faithful for all of that. And that tells you that he will be faithful about heaven. His promises are going to come true. But that also means you still have to keep trusting for the stuff that comes in between. Because God is. Faith is that knowing that God is and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Well, some days it may be hard for you to remember that God is. But if you'll pray and you'll talk to him, it'll remind you. And if you'll open your Bible and read it, even when you're struggling to understand, it will remind you. But today, my friend, lay your heart out to him. It makes you have, ugly tears and you ugly cry. That's the only kind of crying I do, is ugly crying. There is no gentle, just tears running down my face. It is always sobbing if I'm crying. And I got to admit, I tend to cry when I pray. It's very emotional for me, being able to take that to the Lord and relieve that. Even when I'm telling him good things, I still cry. Interesting enough, I had the same reaction having to tell my own father things, even as a kid. Just going and talking to him was so, I don't even know what the right word is. It was kind of an immense thing for him to take the time to focus on me. And he did it every day. But those times when I had to acknowledge it by actually, pulling whatever it was I didn't want to talk about right then and sharing it with him, somehow that was even different than sharing it with my mom. And man, taking it to the Lord, just multiply that times 10. The fact that I know he's focusing on me makes me a little emotional, makes me very happy, makes me very humble, and makes me just in awe of him. And it kind of comes out in tears with me. So, if that's what your praying looks like today, then pray that way. It's okay. God doesn't care. And you're just supposed to bring that and get that weight off. And give yourself permission in the future when you realize you're weighed down with these things and you've got these burdens on your heart that you don't want to talk about and you don't want to talk about it with anybody else. You can always talk about it with God. Always. So I hope that that's helpful for you. I hope that that is something that you find encouraging and refreshing, that you can do that with him. And the forms that are in the prayer challenge are just meant to be tools for you to use, things to kind of, trip your brain a little bit, to be able to write those things down. And I have learned writing things down, it makes a connection. It connects with your brain. You process what you're saying more intentionally because you're putting it down on paper. And you remember what you say. And I think sometimes we might mean what we say more when we write it out. Again, because you're intentionally choosing to put it down on paper. And we're going to learn so I think starting tomorrow, that using scriptures to guide our prayers helps us to learn from those scriptures and to increase our vocabulary, so that we know that when we're coming to the Lord with words that he has approved already. And those have been part of the process of proving his faithfulness. And so when I repeat them, they prove his faithfulness to me. Isn't that kind of cool how that works? So I hope that this challenge is helping you in that way. And again, if you have questions, drop them in the comments, and let's see if I can read those. I'm going to take a pause here for a minute. I'm so glad, Debbie. Glad to know that it has been an encouragement to you. I can't read and talk at the same time. Do others have that gift? I don't. Cannot do both of those. Not process what I have there. So it is meant to encourage you and to lighten your load. And I can't do that for you in a lot of ways. I mean, we're far apart, but the Lord can always do that. So I'm glad that it has been good for you these 2 days, and I hope it will continue to be that way over the next 5, and give you skills going forward so you can keep using these things day to day as you go through, and always to teach the others around us. Share those with them, because God is always the answer. He is always the one who has that comfort and always has that for you. So thank you for that. I'm glad to know that. Okay. Do you have any questions about the forms, or was there anything that stood out to you? I say it in the book, and usually anything that I write or print, I let people know I am very open to you discussing with me. If you have a disagreement of my use of the scriptures, or if you need more understanding, you can reach out to me, and I'm glad to discuss that, because I am human and I can be wrong. And I have no problem stating that, and I am open to reevaluating things, and being able to look at that, and also being able to explain my own belief from it. That's a big deal of it. I'm not regurgitating somebody else's thoughts. I need to be able to explain where I'm coming from. So if it doesn't make sense to you, you're more than welcome to ask me to clarify any mud that I have laid down. I have a fly that is just wanting to bother me today. What's up with that? So, well, your time is precious, my friend, and I don't want to keep you over long. I want to thank you for being here. And again, I'm going to go live again on Thursday, which is day 4. And probably that one I will go live in the evening and see if we can make time for some of you after you've gotten off work. And it's kind of hard because there are people from all over the world in this prayer challenge. So it's kind of hard for me to find a time when everybody is up. And because we have people in New Zealand and South Africa and the UK, and obviously all over the United States. And you name it. I think I had my first person, I think, from Poland was a new one this year. I'd had most other countries, but this was my first one from Poland this year. So we have people from everywhere, and so it's a little hard for me to hit the right times where everybody can be on here live. So I'm going to kind of shake it up each time I do it, see if we can't find a different time so everybody's got an opportunity to be live. So Thursday, I'm planning on that to be probably around 7:00 Eastern time in the evening, Thursday night. And then Friday will probably be kind of similar to today, 3:00, 3-4 o'clock Eastern time, something like that. Unless something comes up and I need to do it earlier, but I think we're going to do it mid-afternoon, try to give everybody a chance. So again, I hope that you are encouraged. I hope you are invigorated to go into tomorrow and to dive into maybe something new and just a refreshing in the way that you pray. So thank you for being here. My prayer always is that you will have abundance in all things, but especially as you grow in grace and knowledge in the Lord. So thank you. We will see you next time. Bye.